All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm kind of going to be going off the cuff here, so we're going to have a bit of a conversation, a bit of a chit chat. I'm going to get vulnerable with you all. I'm going to get real. Not going to sugarcoat any of this. So let's dive into it. Now, today's topic, right? I want to talk about my own experience and sort of what I went through and the biggest mistakes that I made and why it took me so long to change, basically. So I spent a lot of time doing the same thing over and over, not seeing any real change. And I thought I was doing everything right. And I was doing everything right. I was journaling. I was, managing risk. I wasn't doing anything stupid. But this also hindered my performance as well. Now, real lessons, they come from hardships. They come from losses. They come from pain. And because I was so focused on protecting myself from that, just from the way that I've been brought up and, the experiences that I've had and the mindset that I had at the time, I thought protecting that mindset at all cost would serve me, when in actuality, it held me back from learning the big mistake, learning the big lessons, right? And, really pushing me towards consistency. So I spent a lot of time in this middle ground, right, where the excitement of starting had finished, but I wasn't quite seeing any real results. So I was in this really lonely, miserable middle section. I could not see a way out. I could not see a way out. I was just going through the motions. And that fucking tears you down, right? Mentally, you become so crushed. I became so crushed that I contemplated quitting so many times, right? I've lost count of how many times I wanted to quit. But the fact of the matter is, ultimately, I was resilient, right? It does not have to take you as long as it took me. I learned some painful lessons, and, I don't want to say I have regrets, because I don't, but there is a lot of things that I would do differently. And one of them is putting my foot on the gas. So early on in your trading career, I think it's so important just to put your foot on the gas, right? Take the trades, whatever. If it makes sense, take the trades, make the mistakes, journal, but you have to learn from those mistakes. And remember, the charts and how you feel is a reflection of you, right? And your own mentality, your own mindset, and your own psychological framework. So anything that's troubling you in the market, if you struggle to execute a trade, right? If you struggle with that confidence to execute a trade, sure, it can be fear, but there's so many layers to that psychological characteristic. It goes far, far deeper than, lack of confidence because there's money on the line, right? This can be something that's built up over your childhood, something that you've been conditioned, in your early years through lack of self-worth, lack of self-esteem. If you really struggled with confidence and self-esteem, as a kid in school, if you were bullied in school, then all of that self-esteem, lack of self-esteem is going to bring itself and materialize itself into the markets and into your results. So until you address those, it's going to be uncomfortable, but until you address those long-term psychological hurdles, you're not going to be able to break through, right? And a lot of what I did as a child, or when I first started trading in my late teens, is that I thought the answer was to suppress all these emotions, right? So I had a lot of confidence issues when I was in my early teens. I had really terrible acne. I had really bad skin. So that knocked my confidence massively. And so when I came into trading, that invariably showed up in the way that I approached the charts and the way that I approached the market and the way that I held myself during trading scenarios and trading sessions. And so what I did was I suppressed those emotions when I came into trading because I thought that was the answer, right? I thought, emotions are not good. Forget about them. Put them to the back of your head. Suppress them as much as possible because that's going to hinder your results, right? When in actual fact, it's the complete opposite. Suppressing your emotions does not change the very framework of the emotion. That emotion is still there, and if something slight happens, that emotion, that feeling of lack and that feeling of confidence issues is gonna present itself again. Until you deal with this feeling head on, until you look at yourself in the mirror and you go through and you break down every single psychological issues that you may have. Until you do that, it's going to constantly creep up on you when you're least expecting it. You're going to more often go on tilt. You're more often going to make emotional decisions because you are not aware of these emotions, right? Bringing awareness to these emotions is the first step to really being able to manage them. And so I don't really know what the whole message of this video is. I guess it's the fact that don't look at your emotions, don't look at your shortcomings at face value, because ultimately there is always something deeper. You have to peel back the layers of why you feel a certain way, what's happened previously that makes you feel this way. And also it's to understand that it's okay. Like emotions are okay. It's all right to feel afraid. It's all right to feel scared in certain scenarios. It's all right to have sweaty palms. It's all right to have a high heart rate. Like that's fine. You have to be aware of it, and you have to. Awareness kills, right? So being aware of something takes away from the dangers of it, right? So the more you can be aware of them, your emotions, the more you can work through it and still make the logical, statistical, or whatever decisions and keep moving forward without letting those emotions impact your trading. So I think that's pretty much what I wanted to speak about today. Bit of a raw, just honest talk here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, comment down below if you've experienced similar thought of things. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.